Have you ever watched that new Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma? Well, I watched it with my wife a few weeks ago, and it really got me thinking. Not only did it open my eyes to how this algorithms of social media work to prey on our weaknesses, to drive this business model that ultimately is, really destroying us as a society, as humans. And I'm posting this video on social media, so I've not fully extricated myself from that, and still see the value and good in it. Um, but it reminded me really ultimately of really how social media now is designed. And it's designed for conflict. It's designed to create conflict because conflict creates engagement. It gets you emotionally invested in something. You therefore want to engage. Controversies kind of fuel that engagement as well. This idea of if they can capture our attention and do that through pushing the buttons of our emotions and getting us engaged. And I thought, how detrimental is that to this, what I believe, this notion of empathy? And this came up in the podcast that I had with Matt Willingham, and he really talks about in the podcast this need for empathy to be taught and instilled into us as a culture, as a people, and how he's homeschooling his kids down there in San Diego, and he's going to be one of the classes the class that he's going to teach his children is a lesson on empathy. And it was really, I was just really impressed by how he kind of approaching this challenging time with having to homeschool kids and under all the difficulties of COVID-19 that they're facing in the US right now. But yeah, it really made me think how empathy really ultimately is just so much needed in this time. Conflict makes us push against and defend what we believe against what someone else believes. It's kind of this apologetic of I'm right and you're wrong, and I've got to convince you to come to my side of the fence, come to my side of the table. And whereas empathy just goes in quite at a different angle. Instead of wanting to prove something or defend something, it goes in with open curiosity. Well, you've got something to teach me. What can you teach me? What can I learn? I want to be curious. I want to know. When we know someone, when we understand their story and we understand maybe their suffering, there's a beautiful quote from a Sufi poet named Rumi from 12th or 13th century. He was an Afghan Persian region, spent some time in that region, and he penned these words. He says, "The wound is where the light enters in." And as we come to know the wounds of those around us, we are able to, I think, give space for people to open their hearts, to learn, to grow, to cultivate this thing called empathy, which really brings us together. It really brings us to a place where I think true justice and mercy, compassion and kindness, and love flourish. And we see that I don't think our society's ever been more divisive, more us and them, more against each other. And so I'd encourage you, get to know someone's story, just like Matt talks about in this episode of his experiences in Iraq, which are phenomenal. The going behind the front lines, delivering emergency care and supplies to people just liberated from Mosul, and encountering a couple of girls. And the way he tells his stories and shares his heart was just wonderful. And you do yourself a favor to listen to it, not just because it's my podcast, but you're going to want to listen to the words that Matt shares. So insightful, so raw. And I want to encourage you. There's another quote, I don't even know who said it, but my dad quotes this to me all the time. Shout out, Dad. He says, tell me how much of a person's suffering you know, and I'll tell you how much you truly care about them. And there's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of pain in this world. There's a lot of people going through some stuff, even your neighbors here. People are tired. People are worn down. People are one step away from breaking down, from their finances falling apart, from their health shattering, from marriages splitting apart and family breakdown. They're teetering on the edge. And I would just encourage you to, next time you're tempted to engage in conflict, and I'm a sucker for it, trust me, I love to get into a good discussion, but next time you're kind of pulled into something, go with an idea of curiosity. Go with a posture of, I want to learn, I want to listen to someone, and ask questions. Man, I promise you the outcome will be, you'll be richer for it. Maybe you'll see that you have a lot more in common. And I think just like Matt is teaching his kids empathy, it's something you're just going to have to practice. You're going to have to practice and practice and practice. It doesn't always come naturally. I think we're naturally inclined to engage in conflict and to defend what we believe and to prove and convince others to believe what we believe. And so you've got to fight against this tendency to go in with that, and instead go in with curiosity, go in with questions. And I believe together we can create an environment where people feel loved, that people belong, and where we can flourish. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Takeaways with Tim, and be sure to check out my interview with Matt Willingham, an incredible humanitarian photographer, writer. Check out his Instagram at Matt Willingham. You're going to love reading his stories, and you're going to love this guy. He's a great mate. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next time.